Welcome to CMOs Without Borders.
I'm Joel Crampton. I help financial advisors, RIAs, and wealth managers replace scattered marketing with strategic systems that boost AUM and production volume.
I'm Mandy McPhee. I am a fractional chief marketing officer and work with founders who are doing too much and need someone to turn their scattered marketing into a system that actually drives results. In this episode of CMO Without Borders, Clay Hicks joins us to unpack what authentic networking really looks like in 2025 and how founders and financial advisors can build trust, influence, and opportunity through relationships that actually matter. H7 Network, under his stewardship, transcends traditional networking by nurturing relationships rooted in trust, support, and mutual growth. As H7 continues its impressive global expansion, Clay's leadership ensures it remains focused on its core mission, empowering individuals to break barriers, inspire change, and reshape their futures with the unyielding support of a community that believes in the power of word-of-mouth connections. Man, you've got a great personal brand, Clay. I gotta tell you. And your personal brand and how it connects to building relationships is so important. So glad to have you here. And I'm going to open it up to you to talk a little bit about your personal brand and how you're transcending and transforming networking.
So my personal brand, it's important to me because I want to be seen as a trusted advisor in that space. I want people to feel like they can come and talk to me, ask any question, never feel like they're asking some dumb question. And so my personal brand is also tied to my values and who I am and where I come from and all these things. And so when it comes to this expression of my brand, I want people to feel safe when they're around me. I want people to know that chances are, can support them in any relationship challenges they're having. I challenge myself to make sure that I live by this credo, which is I don't know everything, but I'm going to tell you everything I know. And that brand comes with making sure I'm listening, making sure that I'm hearing, making sure I'm serving, making sure I'm doing my part in treating that individual that I may be with like they're the only ones that matter for the period of time in which I am with them.
Yeah, and that's you said a few keywords in there, listening, and hearing what people are telling you. That's so important for financial advisors and for founders as they try to build that trust and confidence. Tell us a little bit more about that.
As a founder of the H7 community, as an entrepreneur, our reputations matter. Word of mouth, how people perceive us matter. Being who I am all the time in every moment of time in which I am meeting with people, serving them, helping, whatever, doing my job, whatever that might be, it needs to always come out. That always needs to be at the forefront of it. And so I do my very best to create that perception for the other person that when whoever that other person is, that they simply just feel like I'm listening to them. Far too often people jump to conclusions. And I like to live in a space where I don't know everything and I want to know what I don't know. And making sure that I'm deploying that every chance I get is how I would probably describe that.
I think that even as I've been working on my business building and relationship building, there's so many times that I've jumped to a sale before I've really heard what problem my prospect is trying to solve for.
Yeah, I mean, I make mistakes like that too. I mean, I'm by no means perfect, and I said I try to display that. So every time I miss something, because I jump to conclusions, I've just learned a long time ago I got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
And I try to hold
Yeah.
the discipline to do that. Make sure I understand what's going on around me, and awareness.
I think
Yeah.
the adage seek first to understand then be understood is something I always lead by, or I try to at least.
Yeah,
Ask them as many questions as you can until you get a full understanding of where they're coming from, and that will help you decide how you then can respond to them in a way, in a manner that resonates with them. So I
So,
think you've got a great approach, Clay, and I've
appreciate
listened
that.
to you a few times on some group calls. So I really appreciate you coming on to our call. So I have one kind of quick background question of what does H7 stand for? Is I assume H is Hicks is your last name?
All right, so it goes like this. Back in 2014, I was getting married. At the time, H7 was actually called TBN. The business network is what it stood for. And at that time, we only had groups in Ohio and Indiana. That's all we were in. So, however, Trinity Broadcast Network did not appreciate how people called us TBN. Well, I got a letter from their attorney. I called them back. So she was pretty adamant about a cease and desist calling it that. I didn't do it immediately. It just kept trucking. Well, during this time, I was trying to figure out like next steps. Like, how would I expand this company outside of Ohio? And so I started putting pen to paper, and I'm a creative. I mean, I love building things, all that stuff. I'm a woodworker. Built our kitchen tables. I love that stuff. So I went put pen to paper, and so my wife and I had just gotten married, and I called it the official H7 application. Okay, and that stood for Hicks and 7 family members.
Okay.
I was just having fun. That was all I was doing. Was just having fun. That's all I was doing. And so in 2015, so in less than a year from all that happening, that third cease and desist letter come in, and I don't have that kind of money to fight Trinity Broadcast Network. So my wife was like, well, let's change the name to H7. And I said, no, I don't want to name it after myself. No way. That will not go well for my legacy. What we're trying to do, like, my name can disappear. Like, that's cool. And so she was like, but we really got to call it that because it's a great name. So I developed the H7 logo, which I love. I still love it today. It's a symbol of hope and positive and all this stuff. It took me 3 months to come up with what it meant, which was hub for 7 pillars to networking success. And that's what H7 stands for.
Clay, you talk about H7 that it's not just any network, it's a movement. What's missing from traditional networking that made you build something different and call it a movement?
Force, requirements, scarcity mindset, those were it. That was it. So I had experience with networking before I started H7, of course, and it was scarcity. There was lots of rules. I was turned off. There's this international network that's huge, and I experienced it once. It's called BNI. I went to one, and that's all I ever was. I was never a member. I went to one visitor day, and it just wasn't for me. So when we developed H7, it was all about having an abundance mindset, being able to work with others. And when you look around, we partner with all of these different networking groups across the world. We partner with 17 different ones. We got one in Vancouver, one in England that we work with, and then the rest are in America. And we're so versatile that we can work with all of them without any troubles. And it's really starting to uptick the collaboration of all the networking groups because of that. And
Yeah.
so with an abundance mindset and how we all work together to help each other, that's what really makes that movement move.
How do you network globally? It's really hard to, scale to 20. How do you keep that connection and culture consistent across borders and digital platforms?
Yeah. So we have members in 23 countries, and I I do my very best to stay out in front by leading from the front. Okay, and that means I got to get my hands dirty. So I'm one of those founders that I don't have to do everything. That's not what I mean. I mean, my staff, I have 27 on my staff, and it's a big deal. But if I won't do it, neither will they, right? So there's that kind of leadership that mentality needs to be there where I won't ask anybody to do anything I won't do for myself. So you will see me out. You will see me in the meetings some. You will see me at workshops. You will see me in one-to-ones with members. You will see me invite one-to-ones with other members. I will push that envelope to ensure that member somehow, some way. In fact, Mandy, I think you're getting emails from me right now. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
stay out in front of it. I know every single one of our members, and at any time they can communicate with me or they will receive some kind of communication from me, and then we will meet. We will do what it takes to win. That is always the case.
So, being across 23 countries, you've seen all sorts of different cultures and different people. Have you noticed any differences in the way people network and the way they connect from culture to culture?
Yes, so much it's ridiculous. Like it's a
Yeah.
lot of different varieties. Then on top of that, you have personality types. And the personality types that I work with, such as fractional executives like yourself. I mean, strong personalities, success, like doing the job, doing the work. So I meet with so many different personality styles on top of different experiences from their own culture, how they make decisions.
Let's talk about Canada and the US, right?
Yeah.
And the cultural differences, just, I mean, we're neighbors, but there are a ton of cultural differences.
Yes.
When it comes to decision making and the way people network, give us an example of the differences that you're seeing.
I see one of the things that pop out at me is the movement difference between American entrepreneurs and Canadian entrepreneurs. Americans will move very fast. Canadians will tend to move a little slower in decision making, and they're probably more cautious than Americans. I mean, doesn't make them bad, different. It's just different. Um, I always try to remember that and slow down to connect with them where they are. That's a very important to do that, to meet them where
Yeah,
they are.
it's Joel and I were talking about that a few episodes ago where, Canadians tend to make decisions as a collective versus in the US it is straight, I'm ready to make the decision myself, and speed is more of a factor than that collective decision making. So it does warrant a different way to communicate,
Yeah.
to network, and to build those relationships across borders.
Yeah, well, there is one thing I did notice though. Like my friends in Canada, because I have friends in Canada now, which I'm very grateful for. They they're even friends differently. It's like they value the relationship just a touch more. There is a difference in the value of the relationship that I've noticed. And I don't know why that's there. I don't know what it means. I don't know. But they seem to, at least when I'm with them, they seem to value me just more. I appreciate that.
Tell me more about that.
So, like, for example, when I went to Toronto for the launch, and now we're going in person next week, and all this stuff, which is great. It was a big show they put on. I mean, I'm so grateful how they honored me being there. They honored me, gave me a beaver to kiss because we couldn't do the Newfoundland thing where now we're in Newfoundland, so they made it all up. They did that all for me. I'm so grateful. I go to other groups in America. They're like, "Who's that?"
So, I think, yeah, one of the other things you talk about is about turning contacts into advocates. And that's a really powerful idea. What does that actually look like for entrepreneurs and advisors who are trying to grow their business?
So what that looks like is essentially what I mean with that is you met somebody, you spend time with them, and you connect, serve, and ask them, and then you keep going with them. You keep meeting with them. You develop. So you're converting that contact that you just met. You schedule a one-to-one. You do another one. You go out and you develop. If it worked out very well in your first one, you keep building, right? So you build those relationships, and that contact came for a reason. There was something that happened. There was a catalyst of some type. You were talking or something, and it took both of you to do that. So now we're contacts for each other. And so we do need to follow through and have an initial one-to-one and see if that's positive. And if it is, let's keep developing that. Now we use the connect, serve, and ask methodology. So you do a one-to-one in a very efficient manner that helps and supports you to develop that trust faster so you can expedite that contact or very first connection into a relationship where some trust has been earned, and then you keep developing that relationship. Oftentimes, why that's such a big deal is oftentimes it looks like that mole game. Like, you got to hit the mole. Like, oh, I just met this person, and then I just met this person, and then, oh my gosh, I got 20 business cards. What do I do? And then you call them and you start pitching them. That's the wrong thing to do. So most people look at those cards and doing the one-to-ones, they don't really know what to do next.
Yeah, I go to a lot of networking events, and I've picked up tips and tricks along the way. I think the biggest tip for me is you can hand out a ton of business cards, but then that puts the onus on the other person to then follow up. Whereas if you get a business card from the person, then you kind of have the power of follow up. And so I think that's just one little tip is, try to get as many business cards as you can instead of handing out a ton, because I hand out a ton and no one ever calls me or contacts me or sends me an email. But I have a kind of system and process. So I get a business card. I'll send them an email the next day. I'll send them a LinkedIn connection request, and I'll try to, connect with them a couple times. But if they're not responsive, then I'm not going to chase down this connection. Because a lot of times when you meet with people at those networking events, they're just very friendly. Like, oh yeah, let's get together. Let's have a conversation. Maybe they don't really mean that. Maybe they're, just doing the pleasantries and just trying to say what they think you're going to say or they want you to say. So those are just a couple tips that I picked up along the way.
Yeah, do you mind if I add to that?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm an introvert by nature.
Yeah, I am too. And I think Mandy is as well.
I'm guessing, yeah. So it's all good, right? So I'm the type of introvert that can carry on conversations and talk to people, though, right? There's that. So I'm more of an outgoing,
An extroverted introvert. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. But I've had to practice that. So talking about the moment you're talking about, like you go to these events and you're handing out cards and all this stuff. What I did was I had to come up with the 10-5-3 rule, and I use that thing intentionally. When I go to other people's, like a chamber event or something, I'm nervous. Like, I'm nervous. That's just the way it is. Then when you go in, if nobody talks to you, then you end up on the side of the wall, and you're like, is anybody going to talk to me? Or, so you got to kind of take action somehow. So I developed the 10-5. I'm going to talk to 10 people. I'm going to ask all 10 for a one-to-one right then and there. 5 will say yes. 3 will physically meet with me. Because I stick with them long enough for those 10 people, not try to get to 30 or 40, but get to a smaller amount. So that way I don't have to over exude my energy that as much.
5-3. I'll remember that one.
Please do. Yeah.
I want to double back to something you said, Clay. You said that trust is so critical, and building that trust is so critical. We know in financial services, in the area that, Joel and I are in, trust is everything in financial services. So, it's so important for advisors and fintech founders to ensure that they're building that trust and credibility. How can they do that faster?
I love this question. It's a great question. And I've actually physically trained a lot of financial advisors. Okay? So let's go right into that prospect appointment, if that's okay. For that first time, that discovery call for that financial advisor. Okay? Don't make all your questions be about what you can do for them in the service that you provide to them as a financial advisor. Make it more about them. If you want to earn trust with your prospects, it begins by not being too salesy in your initial discovery calls. And your discovery calls should not just be a bunch of questions that help you determine how to solve their problems financially. It's far more than that. How do you solve their problems? Focus on how else you can help them in that initial discovery call. Don't just make it about, what kind of life insurance you have now and, how much money do you have in your 401k now? Nah. How else can I help you? Give me a chance to earn your trust. What's going on in your life? What's going on in your business? Does your business need resources? Do you need your house painted? How can I help? help outside of just what you do professionally. That's the secret to earning the trust. If not, your trust earning activities are stuck in only your sales process. Meaning, I owe you some paperwork. Okay, well, that's cool, but how about you owe them something else? Maybe you're going to show them something. Maybe you're going to provide some kind of value to them outside of just simply what you do for a living. And it doesn't take a lot of time. I'm not suggesting somebody stop their meeting and spend an hour on them just trying to serve them. I'm saying move those questions into your discovery call. How it's going to help you guys right now. How's your real estate? Are you guys planning to stay here? Do you need somebody to help you sell it? Whatever it is. Oh, you're remodeling your house. Do you need any contractors? I have some. So financial advisors typically get themselves stuck because in their when they are networking, they tend to build relationships with people that can only help their prospects or clients. They need to expand that out and start building relationships outside of the attorney. What kind of attorney do they use? The ones that help them with trusts and wills.
Estate attorneys. Yeah.
lawyers.
Yeah. So oftentimes you'll hear that financial advisor ask for estate attorneys and CPAs. Well, sure, they're going to help you with your prospect, but they may not be able to help you get prospects. So you might as well build the relationships that you need to build, not only with your prospects, but with other people to ensure that you're earning trust all the way around. And then you have to make sure you follow through. But you have to try and attempt to earn trust with your prospect sitting at that kitchen table with you, outside of just the services you provide.
Yeah. And that's the purpose of networking, isn't it? It's to build the team of people around you who's going to refer business to a trusted source.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Well, I think so many financial advisors are taking a more holistic approach to managing people's finances, but also anything that impacts their financial life. And so I think you're spot on, Clay, is asking all those questions. You know, what other challenges are those people facing in their lives, and then having a list of service providers beyond, like you said, the estate attorney or the CPA, whether it's a real estate agent or a house painter. And so you're taking on a lot of that relationship building for them. So I think that's fantastic, taking again that more holistic approach. And I hear all the time of financial advisors when they do meet with current clients, they've got the financial aspects nailed down, and so they have their annual meetings or their quarterly meetings, and they don't even talk about finances. They just talk about what vacation they're going on, and, you know, how the kids doing, and it's evolved. The relationship has evolved beyond the financial into more what's going on in your life.
That's right. That's right. And oftentimes financial advisors, when they get trained and they come out, they're really focused around training them on how to get their own prospects in the door. And then the relationships they need to form have a lot to do with what do you do with your prospect when they come in the door. You know, okay, well, you need to talk to your trust attorney. Okay, I have one of those, whatever that is. But they need to have more than that. They need to bring more to the table than that. If they're going to be a resource, they need to be a resource, not just a financial resource.
What were the 7 pillars of the H7 network?
Sure.
Just briefly, cliff notes.
So connect, serve, ask,
Okay. Yeah.
influence, focus, champion, and win-win.
Okay.
By the way, those are not only the 7 pillars to networking success, but those are also the 7 values that our company, organization, internal, that's how we operate. And then it's also the 7 laws of word of mouth marketing. That's just not been brought out yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You talk about connecting, serving, and asking. You know, and you talk about serving before actually selling or asking for the business. How does that mindset shift change the way people attract clients and partners?
Well, it takes a mindset shift to even execute it. And so your mindset shift that you're creating around that is, of course, one of abundance, one of focus, one of daring to be influential with that person across from you. And so if your mindset, oftentimes people show up to networking experiences unprepared. They just do. They didn't come in with a list of the industries they'd like to meet with. They may not know how to communicate that well enough to make it easier on someone else. And so the mindset really needs to be like, I'm here, so are you, let's focus. Let's focus on the time in which we're together right now. Let's not do anything else. Okay? And so I'm going to focus my time in a connect, serve, and ask experience around ensuring that we're focusing on earning trust so that like and know will follow it. Far too often people focus on like and know. They're like, I'm not going to do business with Mandy until I know her well enough. That's what people normally say, isn't it? They don't say like, I'm not sure I trust Mandy. They barely even use the word trust, right? They use the words of, I don't know Mandy well enough to make that referral. Well, I'll tell you right now, you find out a lot about a person and learn a lot about them when you try to help them. A lot. You also learn a lot about a person when you ask them for help. How often have you experienced one-to-ones where you do the serving and they don't try to help you back? That happens. Happens all the time. But you still have to ask. And that's the attitude you have to have. I'm here to seek to earn their trust with the person across from them and to get to know them better. And try to help them. Whatever happens, happens. But I can tell you, Connect, Serve, and Ask is something that I'm trying to bring out, of course, to the world. But you'd be shocked to learn how many people have heard about Connect, Serve, and Ask long before they even met me. I had a woman a couple weeks ago say, well, I've heard of Connect, Serve, and Ask. I was like, cool. Would you like to know about it? I invented it. She was like, yes. She was in California. Learned about it at a chamber event she went to. That's the only thing she could explain. But so you're really daring to push that envelope into that trust area, and that's where people have feelings. You can like somebody, but when trust enters the room, you start to have some level of emotional connection to it. And we're emotional people. All of us are. We're built that way. Yeah. And so you've heard the saying, like, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Well, then show you care. And that's how you do that.
That relationship building and networking that you talk about, I'm going to connect it back to creating those advocates. You know, word of mouth is so critical in our business. And getting that word of mouth out and those advocates can only happen as you build your network and your network of trusted advisors and trusted people surrounding you.
You know what the worst kind of word of mouth marketing is? None. Not bad. None. You can watch, you can just watch something die because nobody talked about it one way or another.
That's right.
Yeah.
Clay, you've built such a fantastic community. You've scaled this up to 23 countries. I was thinking earlier about how, what's the success of how you've grown it to 23 countries. And I think back to COVID when there were a lot of these in-person networking events that just died off because nobody could connect. And so online communities became really big. But I've noticed an increase in more in-person networking events around here in Kansas City. And I think in the age of AI, we're just losing some of that personal connection. I think that's what's driving a little bit more of those in-person meetings and networking events. Can you tell us a little bit kind of how you've seen the H7 community grow? Because you offer both in-person meetings, but also a big virtual community. And I saw your event coming up in December. You can tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yes. So we run the same style of meeting in person that we run virtually. So that helps tremendously. The only difference is there's a piece of paper on the table that has QR codes for sign in and target markets. That's pretty much it. That's the only difference. And so our standard design is good enough for virtual and in person. And then of course all the advocates that we all agree in the virtual community that it's really great to physically meet in person, which is why we have our conference coming up in April in Nashville, right? We get a chance to meet in person there. But we take our chances when we have the opportunity. We just can't do it all the time. And the reality is, guys, that if you live in Kansas City, chances are you don't want to drive an hour and a half to a B2B meeting once a week. Nobody's going to want to do that. If you live in Toronto, Mandy lives there. She's not going to want to drive an hour and a half to go to a B2B meeting. Mm-hmm. And that's how hard it is to kind of find those things, really. Truly. They're not easy to find. So with us being virtual, it allows that member to, yes, of course, Mandy can go to the Canada meeting every Thursday. Well, we open up in Toronto next Tuesday.
Yay!
And she has both. She has both opportunities. So she can be efficient with building her relationships, and then she can go in person when it makes sense, when it works, and it's convenient.
Are you coming to Toronto to open up the Toronto chapter?
I'm not coming in 2 weeks from now, but I'm planning to come in January. Yes, you'll see me every
Okay.
quarter, Mandy. You'll see me every quarter up there
Okay.
to support that. To support that, and
Yeah.
then I think that answers your question, Joel, about how we're handling that.
Yeah.
And then we do have a virtual party. It's our 4th annual holiday extravaganza. It is awesome. It really is. It's fast paced. It's to the point, and we have a lot of fun, and there's no business really being transacted, so it really just comes across very fun. But we're just building relationships. So it'll be from 4 to 5:30 on the 16th Eastern time, 4 to 5:30. And right now we have 45 already registered. I just sent out 2 emails this week, so I'm assuming we're going to be in the 150 plus arena, and it's going to be an awesome event.
So, Clay, if you could leave our listeners with one principle to build influence and connection in 2025, what would it be? Or we're heading into 2026, so how do they start the year out in great shape?
Before you network at all, I want you to sit down. I want you to think about what it is you really want to accomplish in your network. And then I want you to think, I'm going to focus this year on ensuring that I'm earning trust with every person I get the opportunity to meet with. And watch how that could potentially change everything. And I did say earning trust I wasn't saying just with the other person. Ensuring that you not only are trying to earn their trust, but you are giving them a chance to earn yours. So always make sure that you ask for what you're also looking for. And make sure you do that in the form of industry.
Amazing. Thanks so much for joining us, Clay. Really appreciate it. I heard a few things, trust is critical. Turning your connections into advocates is how you're going to grow your business as a founder or as an advisor.
Yes.
And that your connect, serve, and ask methodology gets you to a more efficient way of growing that network very quickly.
That's a great way to sum it up, Mandy. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Clay.
Thank you guys for this opportunity. I deeply appreciate it, both Joel and Mandy. It's been a pleasure being on the show.
Thanks, Clay.
Awesome. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.